G'day everyone. So my name's Chris Bennetts. I'm from Transport for New South Wales. I know absolutely nothing about the meat industry, so it's been good to kind of spend a bit of time here just learning a bit about it. I thought I might kind of say something like, I'm a vegetarian. I'm kidding. I just wanted to see how awake you all were for 4 o'clock. Maybe that's my secret way of getting more people in the door. There you go. I'll say I'm a vegetarian again. Sean was right. We've done a lot with data. We've opened up our data, and what I'll do now is kind of tell you the story about what we've done with our data, and what it means for transport, our customers, and the way we do operations in New South Wales. So for those who don't know, which is probably most of you, Transport for New South Wales is actually a fairly new agency in the New South Wales government. It was formed in 2011. And it was designed to bring together all the transport operators under one agency to provide an end-to-end integrated planning experience for all of our transport operations, and to embed customer into the centre of all decisions that we make in transport. So we actually established a dedicated customer experience division, and that's the group that I belong to. And we've done a lot since 2011, so I actually was lucky enough to join when Transport was formed. I'm still here doing a lot of stuff. And over the last 2-3 years, our Minister Constance, has really wanted to do a real step change in the way that we look at technology in terms of improving that customer experience and our operations. So earlier this year, we actually released a strategy with the Greater Sydney Commission called Future Transport 2056, which is our vision about how Sydney, the Greater Sydney area, needs to grow, as well as New South Wales, regional New South Wales, to handle everything that's going to be happening over the next 40 years. I would encourage you all to go to future.transport.nsw.gov.au, download the strategy and have a read, and you'll see the main tenets there. But essentially, it's all about customer focus. It was about changing us away from planning routes and lines into thinking about places, and then ensuring that everything that we do is sustainable and accessible for our customers. Before we did this strategy, though, we actually did another strategy, because why do one when you can do two? We actually did one which is around technology. And the point of the technology one was to say, we don't know what the future is going to look like, and we're pretty sure a consulting house doesn't know either. So what we're going to do is we're going to crowdsource, we're going to bring together about 600-700 of the best transport and technology leaders from across Australia and internationally, and we brought them all into one room back in 2016. Brought Steve Wozniak out to kind of get them all excited about what was possible, and took them through a big design thinking session over 2 days. And out of that, the question that we posed to all of them was, if you were the Secretary of Transport, so in government, Secretary is basically your group chief executive. If you were the Secretary of Transport, what would you do to drive technology into every decision that we make at Transport? And what all those participants told us was basically they don't know. They don't know what the future looks like. So I heard earlier today that you were kind of having some similar conversations about what the future looks like. Feel rest assured that they couldn't tell us either. But what they did say was that we think the key thing to know about technology is that disruption is not driven by the technology itself, but the way in which customers engage with that technology. And that was kind of the light bulb moment for us when it came to that strategy and what we needed to do. So they said, what you need to do instead of thinking about the tech is actually think about the customer experience and how our customers will evolve over the next period as technology comes through and becomes more relevant to us. And on the left-hand side there, you'll see 4 usage scenarios that came up out of that thinking. My autonomous car is king, which is basically saying that autonomous vehicles kind of rise up and take over the landscape. We're all in this together, which is all about shared mobility and transport. Super commuting, so we see a trend in particularly millennials getting their driver's license later, or perhaps not at all, and using public transport by default, making living decisions based on the availability of public transport. And then why travel so much? So this concept of local commuting hubs that you just drive from your house, within 10 minutes and you're at a hub, and then you can work with all the digital tools that you have. So those are kind of the scenarios that came out. So what we then did was we actually had formed as part of our strategy group a external innovation leaders panel, we called it. And we asked David Thodey, who is the old ex-CEO of Telstra and the current chair of CSIRO, to come in and lead us through what we need to do to make this a success. Actually got Andrew Stevens in as well from the Advanced Growth Manufacturing Centre. He was also an ex-CE of IBM. Kate Burley, who is the CE of Intel Australia and New Zealand. In New South Wales Government, we also have a Customer Service Commissioner, so Mike Pratt is our Customer Service Commissioner, and we brought them all in through this event and through this process to guide us through what we needed to do. Now, hopefully you'll see, as I'm telling this, it's not us doing the thinking. We're crowdsourcing this thinking. We're trying to get the best and the brightest to tell us what we need to do, and we're trying to create the conditions for that to happen. And what that group told us was there's really 5 strategies that we need to think about in response to how customers will use this technology going forth. Customers will want a more personal one-to-one experience with transport. We need to think about transforming the mass transit network away from this spider's web network to more of a hub and spoke model where we have spines of transport delivery and services feeding into it. We need to really get the demand responsive services up and going. We need to make sure all of these vehicle platforms are being connected, and we need to make sure that we're doing something right with data. So out of that strategy, we basically developed a roadmap, and that we used the word very purposefully. We didn't use the word white paper or green paper or kind of those typical government terms. We used the word roadmap because roadmap says to the industry that we are serious about doing something. And in fact, you can download the roadmap again from future.transport.answ.gov.au. And in that, what you'll see is after we've outlined our strategy, we've also said we're very comfortable not knowing what the future looks like. And David, through his engagement with us, encouraged us to look at what he called no regrets initiatives, things that you should do no matter which way the future goes. And when we published this roadmap, we published it in draft in the back end of 2016, and then we finalised it in the early part of 2017. We were very keen to demonstrate to industry that we'd listened and that we're taking action, and that we're taking action around these no regrets initiatives. So I'll talk to you about a few of these no regrets initiatives now. You can see it all come together. The first one that we did, well, not the first one, but one of the key first ones to talk about is what industry told us was they wanted a different way of engagement with us. They didn't want a prescriptive set of requirements for which they had to respond to in a procurement process. Rather, they wanted to co-design with us what we needed to get done and for us to focus on the outcome and the problem that we're trying to solve and give the freedom and flexibility for industry to come back and respond. Now, the New South Wales Government earlier this year established in Sydney, just above Wynyard Station, a Sydney Startup Hub. It's basically 11 floors of startups. On the top floor, we took some room there and we created the Transport Digital Accelerator. And the point of the Transport Digital Accelerator was to bring this concept of design thinking. And design thinking is simply, for all those folks who are have got a bit of an engineering lean, you always want to go into the solution. Don't worry about the problem is. I've got some great technology. Don't worry about the problem is. What design thinking does is it forces you to spend 80% of your time thinking about what the problem is that you're trying to solve. And the process takes you through this ways of unpicking and feeling good about what that problem is. And then through the problem definition, the solution naturally comes to you. And so we established this digital accelerator, and our mechanism to bring industry and us together is through this concept of design thinking and innovation challenges. And innovation challenges, and I'll talk about more of them soon, but innovation challenges are our way of saying this is what our problem is. We're open and flexible for how it gets solved. You come to us and you tell us what the right thing to do is. Now, those blobs there are basically just a design thinking process. We're government, so we have no competition. So we actually took the toolkit that we use to take all of the folks in the government department through design thinking as well as industry. We took that toolkit and we published it online. So you can go to digitalaccelerator.transport.nsw.gov.au and you can actually download the innovation toolkit and you can use it yourself. And the whole point of the toolkit is just to get you, a lot of people kind of talk about, well, how do you be creative? What's the right way to do that? And what you'll learn through toolkits like this is the best form of creativity actually comes through constraints. And being clear about what constraints you have to make will actually drive very creative processes. So we established this digital accelerator earlier this year, and we were very keen to make sure that over and above engaging with industry, over and above engaging with startups, we also partnered to ensure that startups and industry had the right access to the tools and the processes to really drive some leading edge thinking. So we partnered with Commonwealth Bank, MasterCard, Optus, Google, Amazon Web Services, Visalytics, and Austrade. And then we actually established a global alliance with a San Francisco-based government incubator called the City Innovate Foundation. And we did that so that we could share the best transport ideas that we have in Sydney with Silicon Valley and vice versa. And we're seeing some good fruits that come out of that. The other thing that we did as part of the No Regrets initiatives was actually to establish an open data platform, which is kind of the core topic for today. So the open data platform we established, we put all of our real-time data out there. So the real-time position of every single transport service that we offer, along with the timetable, traffic light data. If there's a piece of transport data and it doesn't involve someone's personal information, we put it out there. And so far, over the last 2 years, we've had 2.2 billion API hits. So we've had a lot of volume through there. And actually, we've been doing it for a little while. So back in 2012, our precursor to open data was actually to do an innovation challenge, a hackathon, with some data that we had around bus. And what we did with bus is we brought these startups together and we said, we've got this data, what can you do with it? And they came up with some really good apps. So if any of you are from or have travelled to Sydney, you might have used the TripView application, Next There, TripGo, there's many of them out there. And they actually all started a few years back. Right now we have over 2,500 applications using our open data platform. Google uses our open data platform. Apple uses our open data platform. Everyone does. 2,500 applications doesn't mean 2,500 apps. One of the great things about what we've been able to do with the data is that so many different folks are using our data to help us drive better transport planning, to provide a better customer experience, to help us reinvent some of the transport experience. And I love having conversations with all of them because I can just say, well, you don't need to have an MOU with me. You don't need to have a commercial agreement with me. You've got the open data, just take it, transform it, and you can sell it back to us. And in fact, that's what we want. We want the insights to be brought back to us. We want to be that first customer. Now, to be clear, when it comes to the commercial terms, I'll say, like, imagine a price, halve it, and halve it again, and that's kind of what we're at in terms of the price that you can charge us. But we see good innovation that comes out of that. Another key part of innovation that we found was asking our employees what to do. So as part of the Future Transport Technology program, we actually ran an entrepreneur challenge across 25,000 transport employees. The numbers are a bit wrong, but we had thousands of ideas that came in, and we basically took the top 100 self-selected ideas, took them into Telstra, took them through a design thinking process, established a micro fund to take 40 of those ideas through to prototype. One example of that is, again, using data. So one of the ideas from our employees was, imagine if you could tell in real time how full a bus is or how full a train is. And we looked at that problem and thought, we think we've got the data for it. We actually don't know how to transform it, but we have a very engaged developer community who we think we can kind of throw this problem to. And that's exactly what we did. So if you see there on the left, you'll notice a bus, the 603, and you'll see something that looks like a little man. We actually call them jelly babies. And there's 3 jelly babies there. So 1 jelly baby means there's seats on the bus, 2 jelly babies means there's not many seats on the bus, 3 jelly babies means get the next bus, right? That's all real time. We do that by taking the tap on, tap off data in real time from Opal and we push it through open data. To your right, you then see the equivalent for trains. So with our Waratah fleet, we're able to take in real time the weight data of every carriage. Now, we didn't know how to transform that data, so we worked with our developer community, and again, at no cost to government. They did it because they wanted to. They did it because they engaged and a part of the spirit of open data. And they transformed it into colour code system by carriage. So green means there's lots of seats. Orange means there's not many seats. Red means you're standing. Didn't cost the government anything to do this. Didn't cost the government anything to do this. And a whole ecosystem has now been created as a result of this employee's idea through an innovation challenge, entrepreneur challenge to get it out there. We also looked at using this same approach for transforming the learner-driver experience in New South Wales. So up until earlier this year, you would have to use a manual logbook. You have to get mum and dad to sit in the car with you and they'd fill out to say that you've done the hours. You have to do, I think it's 120 hours. And so what we did was we actually linked into our drives system and we put out an innovation challenge to say who would be interested in creating an app to help learners go through that logbook experience, and how do you then converge some of the road rules in a very visual way to really engage that audience. Again, through the innovation challenge, we had 3 that came through. We put a little bit of seed money up and out came these apps that when you go into Service New South Wales now to apply for your learner driver's licence, we will then give you a call to action to download one of these apps, or we'll give you a manual logbook, whatever you want to use. And once you've recorded your hours, and we're able to know that you have recorded that, it will actually send a flag to our drive system to say that you've completed your hours. And then you can go into Service New South Wales and go through the next step in your learning experience. We also have done it for boating. We got maritime data and we put it out there, put an innovation challenge out there. Boatable and Decky came back and both of those apps were actually launched at the International Australian Boat Show about 2-3 months ago, and it really got good uptake from the maritime community. The other thing that happened with open data, and this is where people get scared about data, is the very first weekend that we launched open data, a university student drinking beer and eating pizza decided to put the real-time movements of every transport service onto a Google map, compare it to the timetable, and make it glow red when it was running late. And then published it. As you see from this snapshot, not too many are glowing red. So normally that scares people. That really scares people. But we looked at it and we went, this is fantastic. You know, this open approach drives accountability to us to provide a better service to our customers, to provide better information to our customers so they can make better choices about what they're going to do on their transport experience. In fact, we love it so much, we actually hired this guy, and his name's Ken, and he always rolls his eyes when I tell the story about him, but you know, he's finishing up his Masters of Geospatial Engineering or something like that at University of New South Wales. And we all love his stuff so much that this is actually a screenshot of in the office of Port Botany, where our ops folks are actually using his stuff to see, because it also does freight. So we've been able to put the real-time freight in there too for trains. So they find that very interesting. He also then went, okay, well, if I'm going to do this, let's do more. And he actually took the way that trips were done, and he told us in real time how busy our stations are. And again, this is a university student that's done it. If we went out to do this with anyone else, it would cost us millions of dollars and take 2 years. And I'm not saying that to say, geez, we got it on the cheap. What I'm saying that for is to say, when you open up these data sets, when you change the way you think about data and collaborate with the community, and they get behind the spirit and the message of what you're doing, you'll get great multiple benefits that come out of that. The other thing that we did was we actually got all of our Opal data. Now, Opal data is quite sensitive and of a personal nature, so we're very, very careful about Opal data. And in collaboration with the Privacy Commissioner and Data 61, we worked out how to anonymise Opal data in such a way that we could publish it through open data. And we felt this is important. We had the academia come to us, industry come to us to say, we really want this data, but we had to do it in a safe way. And we spent a long time working with Data 61 on the algorithms to do it, very close collaboration with the Privacy Commissioner to make sure it was done right. University of Melbourne, who, for lack of a better word, crap tested and tried to reverse engineer our data sets. And we actually published it. And when we published it, what happened was industry really got behind it, and they started to come up with things that we'd never thought of. So for instance, where's the best place to open up a coffee shop? And if you're going to open it, what hours should you open it? Well, the Opal data can tell you that, because it can say, in this example with Dulwich Hill Station in Sydney, you're actually better off opening it nearer to Dulwich Hill train station than you are the light rail stop. And there's no point having it open on weekends because the amount of traffic you get through is actually not that much. Now, this is all insight that data provided to that entire folks who are making those decisions. Open data also found itself coming out in different ways. This is a real estate office that's in front of a bus stop. So what they did to draw more eyeballs to the real estate stock that they're providing is they actually put in real time the next departures of buses on there. And we have built APIs in such a way to make that very easy for people to do. We've also looked at how we can expand IoT. So we actually have a traffic light system in Sydney called SCATS, and SCATS enables us to do traffic light prioritisation for certain vehicles. We're actually doing a trial right now with the heavy trucking industry to see if we give them traffic light priority, what's the impact. And we actually use that traffic light priority also for our bus services. So if you've ever wondered why your bus never gets a red light, it's normally because we've got a system that activates to say, let that bus through. And that's the SCAT system there. We've also taken this idea with a concept in transport called mobility as a service, which is about bringing together lots of different transport providers to provide a connected end-to-end experience for customers. We put this out as an innovation challenge, and industry have really got behind it, and we'll announce sometime soon who the winners are from that innovation challenge and who we're working with. Our approach with connected autonomous vehicles is actually the same. This is a trial that we're doing at Sydney Olympic Park. You can go and jump on this vehicle, get driven around Sydney Olympic Park, and there is no driver. So you can all experience this for yourself. This, again, is an example of platforms where we are collaborating with industry to try something new. So, I put that message to you that what we have found as a success is that opening your data works. Thinking about your business as a platform to let people innovate on top of and build their own commercial models works, and industry responds really well to that narrative. So with that, I think there's the transport story.
Thank you, Chris. Cheers. Thank you. So when we